What's up guys, welcome back to this channel. We just got home from Ireland and we're jumping right back to the IS300 exhaust. Our trip was amazing, the wedding was great, everything was unbelievable, absolutely crazy. I know that's not why you're here, but I wanted to show you just a quick montage. You just gotta check it out. It was awesome, check it out.
This mic is too high. Drop it, drop it, drop it.
Yeah. I just been living life, feed a bankroll. How the saying go, got it flooded to my ankles. Need a raincoat,
Pair of boots and a dang bow. Gotta stay flow. I might pull up in a stagecoach playing Beethoven.
Whoa.
Didn't think that it would work.
Now they coming out the woodwork.
Built up my own platform.
Could say I'm in the woodwork.
Made the song go viral.
Probably off some footwork.
Well, either that.
Alright, we're back. I hope you guys like that. I know that's not what we normally do here, but I had to show you because it was great. It was worth putting all of this on pause. Before I left, I pulled the valve covers and the intake manifold, sent them off to get correctly fixed. While I was gone, I wanted to go ahead and get that stuff done, and it's still not done. They're very busy, but it should be done very soon. So hopefully next week we'll have some valve covers and an intake manifold back on here. Moving to the exhaust, nothing really changed. We kept our little 45 here, we kept our straight, we kept our 90, but now we've got a straight in there, a little sliver guy, our flex section, and we're under the car. It's fantastic. That's where we want to be. It's one of the hardest parts of the exhaust system because you've just got, you know, such tight space constraints and all that. I'm gonna raise the car up and show you where we're at, and then I'm just gonna jump around. I'll show you a couple clips. I showed you a lot of welding in the last video, so I'm not gonna bore you with that, but you'll get the gist of it. Let's go. Quick look at the underside. We got our flex in here. We got our V-bend here. Everything is really nice as far as our clearance of the frame, our clearance of the trans. You know, I can't move that far, but everything looks really good. With the 4-inch, you really gotta be careful of where you place some of this stuff because you just don't have the ground clearance that you do with like a 2.5 or 3-inch exhaust. And something like a V-band where the OD is quite a bit larger, you know, it can drag on all kinds of stuff. So it looks really clean up there. I'll show you what that looks like with the mid pipe on in a second, but there's that. Happy about that. And the plan is to come down this way, and then we're gonna follow the factory IS300 floor line to about right here, and then we're gonna kind of shoot straight over like this, and we're gonna save ourselves a couple curves since we're not putting any sort of muffler stuff here or resonator or cat converters, and then we're gonna come through here. So what I like to do is I take a bunch of 1/2-inch rod, I heat it up and I bend it in a vise, and I just leave them all at 90 degrees, and then I can add or take away some. Typically add is all you can really do, but these work really well, and I like to get them all done so I can kind of lay out where my hangers are gonna be. Got these two hanging here, again, factory location, and then the tip, same scenario. This is the resonator I had from the last video, coupled with a nice 13-inch tip on the end. I love the way these things look when they come out at an angle. And so what I do is I add one hanger to it and I cross tie the hangers like so. Main reason for doing that is so that when you're behind the vehicle and you're looking at it like this, you don't see the hanger come down to the side of the pipe. A lot of exhaust shops just want to do it quick and easy. So they hang it right here and they MIG weld it. I can't stand the way that looks. So when this is actually in its final position, which will be something like this, you don't actually see any hangers unless you get up underneath it. Same thing for this. This one will come across and go this way, but we won't add that hanger until we're exactly sure where we want to put this, and we can't figure that out till the car is on the ground so that we can get a good look at it from over there. We'll open the door, we'll look in, and then we can have an accurate perspective on how it's going to look in its final position. It's going to be roughly something like this. Then we're going to come out, wrap a 90 here, go up and over, and connect the dots. So by hanging the tip, we have an end point, and we have our starting point, obviously. Makes it a lot easier than just building back to nothing and then trying to get an angle that you want when you've already set up all this stuff. So building to a fixed position helps a lot with that. I'm gonna go ahead and toss our mid pipe in. I just added this hanger here, and this is nice because it's just a flat piece of stainless with a little cut down 90-degree bent piece of 1/2 inch on it, and it shares the same bolt holes as our transmission mount. From the factory there wasn't a mount here, but with the heavier tubing and stuff I wanted to add something, and it's really annoying to get an exhaust done and hear it bump and knock against everything. With this, we shouldn't have that. Mid pipe is in place. This is the only weld that's completely finished out. It's nice to weld those flanges when you don't have a ton of tubing connected to them. And you can see our route here. We go nice and straight back. And with this hanger on here, you can see we basically just need to come off this pipe and then come over to here, and we'll have a nice little bit of support here. Put a couple of heavy-ish beads on there. Should be more than fine to build the rest of the system. And then when I'm done, I'll cut this little tab off and I'll weld all the way around so it looks clean. Now we can move on to our S portion of the mid pipe. We'll snake around here, we'll come to the back, and we're on the home stretch. As all the main components of the system start to come together, I just trimmed this down. I got my 45 tacked here. This is the under axle part, basically right here, or subframe rather, axle, subframe, both things at the same time. And now it's time to hang our tip. So I've got it zip tied in place the best that I can from the bottom. I still gotta lower the car and see what it looks like from the top, You can see we've got our subframe contraption here, and then this here, and then one of our hangers, of course, the one I showed you before, is obviously attached, but this one is not. So the plan is to make sure this looks right from the ground, and then tack this in place, and that way we know our muffler is relatively close to where it needs to be. And that way when I come under here, I can make the cleanest swoop, because right now the 45 looks great, but then once I got this in place, you know, I had my tube coming out here, so I might want to run a 60 under the subframe, and you just don't know until you have your end marks. First looks, and I'm very happy with it so far. We basically want the middle of the exhaust going under the middle of this arch at that spot. So of course the middle of the exhaust out here isn't in line, but here it is. We have the same amount of room on both sides, and it's not touching the bumper, which is great. These are really, really stiff hangers. So sometimes you build an exhaust and you let it touch the floor and then you hang it and it drops. These do not do that. These poly hangers are almost solid, it feels like. So wherever it is where it's gonna be. Mid pipe is tacked into place on both sides. It's nice and sturdy. And it looks like we're gonna be able to do a 90 out of here, and then I just cut a 90 or a 45 in half. And something, if I can hold it in place, something like this I think is gonna work. Fast forward another couple hours and we finally have a tacked completed system. Of course, it's all gotta be finished welded. We got a lot better clearance here. You can see our frame to tube clearance is pretty tight. Not so tight that it's gonna rub, but you know, just enough. Thankfully we have these real stiff hangers, so we don't have much to worry about there. And I was able to put the V-bend in here, which I think is great. The system is pretty heavy, and so when it's, you know, this entire length, it's just difficult to deal with, difficult to manage. This will make things a little bit simpler. All right, after a couple painstaking days, everything is finally done. Downpipe came out sick, got our O2 bung ready to rip. Fits really nice. Below runner 6, nice and tucked back there where you won't see it. Hopefully the harness will reach, not really sure yet. And the rest of the system is done. It is a massively long section, the muffler of which is already on the car. So I'm gonna throw it on real quick. I'll show you what it looks like. The manifold needs to come back off. I think I gotta tidy up a couple things, tighten some bolts, that kind of thing. Maybe check the gaskets. So the downpipe can't go on yet, but I'm gonna heat wrap it tomorrow anyway with some titanium wrap, and it'll go on then. So until then, I'll just do the mid pipe in the back, and we can cross this thing off the list finally. She's all together. I love the way it came out, super stoked. I love the V-bend here. Thought I was gonna hate it, don't hate it. I love this here with this nice big tip on it. Everything's great, everything's awesome. Took forever, but whatever. Got great clearance here on this frame, or subframe rather. Good clearance here. Got our nice hangers all around. Everything is nice and sturdy. And even with no downpipe connected, she's pretty good. Obviously that'll add a lot of rigidity. We do have a single flex, and these are a little bit softer than the hangers we use in the very back at the muffler, or the tip rather. So worst case, I'll switch to those if I have too many vibrations, or I'll add one more hanger, maybe over here somewhere. And put it on the ground, show you the back final fitment one last time, and I promise I will not show it to you anymore in this video, and we will move to wrapping our downpipe, getting that installed, buttoning up all this turbo stuff, and then we're done with the fabrication on this car, and we can move on to the wiring. That is the final straw before we fire it up. Last look, I know it's dark, you can't see much, but we have a shot of our ground clearance. It's really not bad. I love this shit, so cool. Look how center that tip is. Perfect, couldn't ask for better. Worked for it though, I will say that. All right, it's the next day, moving back to the engine bay side of things. I put this little heat blanket on here. It looks cool. It's obviously not permanent, but I'm gonna run that. And I got some heat wrap for the downpipe over here. Amazon, super cheap, titanium heat wrap. It's like 30 bucks for 50 feet, two 25 by 2 inch wide rolls. And then it comes with a bunch of these stainless clamps, and in case these don't work, I got some spare 4-inch hose clamps. I don't love those, but if these don't actually hold it down, then we'll use those. And I also picked up all of my parts from powder. So we get the fuel rail, the brackets for the compressor housing, the intake manifold, and the valve covers. Everything came out really nice. I went with gloss black all around. I'm gonna throw the valve cover gaskets back on and get these camshafts and the cylinder head covered up. And then I'm gonna deal with the downpipe. We're gonna heat wrap that. We're going to permanently install the exhaust manifold, because right now, it's just loosely on there. I still have to finish weld that wastegate flange that we modified before we built the downpipe. And then just kind of double check everything under here, all the odds and ends, figure out the turbo drain. And then I want to get the exhaust manifold fully permanently mounted so that we can permanently mount the downpipe and kind of cross it off our list. Then we can move to the intake manifold side, which we also can't mount until we figure out our wiring harness, which is going to bring us to deleting that oil filter stuff and running that straight bung that I have from before, that straight threaded oil filter, I don't even know what you call it, but from PHR, there's a little thing you put in there, and we'll get rid of this whole Christmas tree looking thing we got here. We can add our oil pressure temp sensor combo, and then We might be good to put the intake manifold on. I still need to consider relocating this harness here. It is in the way, the intake manifold hits it. And I am worried about downpipe clearance as well. When you look at it from up here, it's extremely close. Yes, the downpipe will be heat wrapped, but still I do worry. And I might be able to just pull the dash and then take this whole harness and basically pick it up, move it on that side of the firewall, and set it back down. Things are moving right along. I got the baffles reinstalled with Loctite on all the bolts. I got the valve covers installed and the bolts are just loosely sitting in here to hold these in place. Oh, and I put the turbo compressor cover on in the intake. Still have no idea if this intake's gonna clear the hood, but jury's still out on that one. I got the coils installed, got the crossover tubes installed, everything is tight. Looks awesome, it's really starting to shape up. I'm stoked. Now, I pull the downpipe off, heat wrap it, and I haven't decided if I wanna heat wrap the manifold. I'm pretty sure I have enough wrap for it, but I don't know. And as I start to pull the downpipe, you will notice this area is vastly cleaned up, but not really. All the shit's just right here. But I figured I might as well get started and get some stuff out of the way, and I love the way that it's gonna look. So basically, there will be nothing here, and there will be nothing on that side. Everything is gonna run inside of our fenders on both sides, and then like I said, I may pull that harness that runs across the engine bay side of the firewall and put it on the other side. I probably have to pull the dash anyway to get the drive-by wire stuff sorted and to find a location for all of this stuff, because we got that fuse box, we have the small one that was over there, a couple of random things that I already forgot about, but all that stuff is gonna have to be relocated. It's probably gonna be a lot easier to have the dash out, so it's a necessary evil. I think I'm gonna have to bite the bullet, but look at this thing, it's looking dope. All right, downpipe it is. Let's get this thing wrapped. We're gonna start up here on the bottom side if I can, so that way you can't see the overlap when we hide this little frayed edge, or this edge that likes to fray. And we're gonna wrap ourselves around with like a half, like a 1 inch or half of the material overlap, dodge the O2 bung and stop at the top of the flex. So we're not gonna take a ton of it because we're not going very far, pretty short distance. Should be pretty easy. Always wear gloves, by the way. If you don't wear gloves, you will hate yourself because the little fibers and stuff will get in your skin and it's a nightmare, so don't do that. Everything is choked up. It's very nice and like organized on the edge of this flange here. And now I can pull this and nothing is gonna rotate, and I can get all of my slack out, get a nice tight wrap, get it all the way around and down until we get down here. Should be cool. Be right back. All right, heat wrap came out sick. It's exactly what I expected. I wanted to go a little lower here, but with the radius and the way this is pulling, it's just not gonna happen, so whatever, it's good. It doesn't really matter if we cover that up. Main area is the engine bay, and we got that part covered, so I'm happy there. Now we can pull the turbo kit off and finalize all of the stuff with the exhaust manifold and all that, and then when we put this on, it can stay on for good. Turbo kit is off. It was only held on by 2 nuts, nothing crazy there. And I am gonna finish weld this flange while it's off, and then we're going to wrap it, and I'm probably gonna pull this cheap China gasket out and swap in a true multi-layer steel gasket. I think, if I have one, I'll do that. Now, the question is, what do I do next? I find myself asking this question oftentimes in my head.